There's a couple in Denver named Mark and Julie who bought their house in 2019 for $410,000. It was a solid house in a good neighborhood with a kitchen that was functional and a bathroom that was fine and a basement that was unfinished and full of potential, which is the word real estate agents use for spaces that cost money to make usable. In the 4 years since moving in, Mark and Julie have spent $94,000 improving the property. They renovated the kitchen in 2021. New cabinets, quartz countertops, a 6-burner range, a backsplash they argued about for 3 weeks and both love, at a cost of $52,000, which was $19,000 more than the contractor's original estimate and $34,000 more than the budget they had set before speaking to any contractor. They remodeled the primary bathroom in 2022. New tile, a frameless glass shower, a freestanding tub that took 6 weeks to source, at a cost of $31,000. Again, $9,000 above the estimate they received before the tile they selected was discontinued and the replacement cost more. They finished the basement in 2023. Drywall, flooring, a half bath, recessed lighting, at $11,000, which was the one project that came in roughly on budget, which Mark will tell you if you ask him, with the particular satisfaction of a person whose baseline for success has been recalibrated by repeated overruns. The house is beautiful. They love it. Guests comment on the kitchen every time. The Zillow estimate currently shows the home at $498,000. Mark and Julie believe they have $88,000 in equity above their purchase price. What they have, if you account for the $94,000 they spent on improvements, is a property that has appreciated $88,000 and consumed $94,000 in capital to get there. A net position of negative $6,000 before accounting for the $47,000 in mortgage interest paid during the same period, before accounting for the $12,800 in property taxes paid during the same period, and before accounting for the $94,000 in renovation capital that, had it been invested in a low-cost index fund in January 2019, would be worth approximately $163,000 today. The kitchen is genuinely beautiful. The financial position it sits inside is not a renovation success. It is a renovation that felt like an investment and functioned like a consumption expenditure. And the gap between those two framings, multiplied across the 40 million American households that undertake a significant home renovation in any given year, represents one of the most expensive and most emotionally defended financial misunderstandings in the personal finance landscape. The home renovation industry in the United States is a $500 billion annual market that is sustained, in large part, by a specific and durable belief that money spent improving a home is money that will be returned. That the kitchen remodel is not consumption, but investment. That the bathroom upgrade is not spending, but value creation. That the renovation that makes the house more livable today is also the renovation that makes the balance sheet stronger tomorrow. This belief has a partial basis in reality. Renovations do affect property values, and a systematic distortion from reality that the industry has a strong financial interest in never correcting. The distortion is the consistent, documented gap between what renovations cost and what renovations return at sale. According to Remodeling magazine's 2024 Cost versus Value Report, the most comprehensive annual analysis of renovation return on investment in the United States, compiled from data across 150 U.S. markets, the average major kitchen remodel costing $77,939 returns $45,000 at sale, a recoupment rate of 57.8%. The average bathroom addition costing $63,054 returns $30,523, a recoupment rate of 48.4%. The average primary suite addition costing $175,473 returns $98,052, a recoupment rate of 55.9%. These are not returns on investment, they are returns on expenditure, and they are less than 1. Every dollar spent on the average major renovation returns less than 70 cents at sale. The 42 cents that does not return is not lost in a market downturn or consumed by a contractor overrun. It is converted from financial capital into experiential value. The value of living in a nicer kitchen, taking a bath in a better bathroom, entertaining in a finished basement. And experiential value, however genuine and however deserved, does not compound forward in a retirement portfolio. Here is the reframe that changes how you evaluate every renovation project before the contractor estimate arrives. A home renovation is not an investment with a consumption benefit. It is a consumption expenditure with an investment narrative attached. This distinction matters because investments are evaluated on financial return, the money going in relative to the money coming out. And consumption expenditures are evaluated on satisfaction, the quality of the experience the money purchased. When you frame a $52,000 kitchen remodel as an investment, you apply the wrong evaluative framework to a decision that deserves an honest one. If you asked yourself whether you wanted to spend $52,000 on a kitchen experience, the pleasure of cooking in a beautiful space for a period of years at a cost of $52,000, you might say yes. Or you might say no. Or you might say yes, but at a lower cost. Or you might say yes, but later, when the financial position is stronger. If you ask yourself whether you want to invest $52,000 in a project that returns $30,000 at sale, you are asking a question with an obvious answer that you do not let yourself ask, because the investment framing converts an honest consumption choice into a rationalized financial decision. The renovation industry profits from the conversion. Your balance sheet pays for it. Let me show you the complete financial model of a home renovation cycle, because the numbers from beginning to end are not the numbers most homeowners have assembled in a single place. The first number is the estimate problem, the structural, documented tendency of renovation costs to exceed their initial estimates in a way that is not random variance, but predictable directional bias. According to a 2024 survey by House, the home renovation platform with the largest U.S. user base, 45% of homeowners who undertook a major renovation in the prior year reported that the final cost exceeded their original estimate by more than 20%, and 18% reported overruns exceeding 50%. The sources of the overrun are consistent across projects. Scope creep, as the renovation reveals adjacent work that was not anticipated. Material cost increases between estimate and procurement. Permit and code compliance requirements that were not included in the original scope. And the specific psychology of renovation decision-making, in which the homeowner, having committed to the project and already disrupted their living situation, is maximally susceptible to upgrade suggestions and minimally motivated to terminate the project over cost increases that feel manageable in isolation. Mark and Julie's $19,000 kitchen overrun was not exceptional. It was the median experience of a homeowner who received a $33,000 estimate for a project that was always going to cost $52,000, but whose true cost would not have survived the decision to proceed if it had been presented honestly at the beginning. The second number is the carrying cost of renovation financing, the specific, compounding cost of the debt that funds the majority of significant home renovations. According to a 2024 Lending Tree survey, 37% of homeowners finance renovations through a home equity line of credit. The average HELOC balance among homeowners who use one for renovation financing is $41,000. At current HELOC rates, which have averaged between 8.5% and 10.5% since the Federal Reserve's rate cycle began in 2022, the annual interest cost on a $41,000 HELOC balance is between $3,485 and $4,305. For a renovation that returns 57.8 cents on the dollar at sale, the carrying cost of the HELOC accelerates the financial erosion. You are paying interest on money spent on an asset that is simultaneously losing 42 cents of every dollar at sale. The renovation that felt like using your home equity to invest in your home is, from the balance sheet's perspective, a leveraged consumption expenditure whose carrying cost compounds forward until the house sells. The third number is the opportunity cost, the investment return foregone by deploying renovation capital in a project with a sub-dollar return rather than in a market account with a market return. The $94,000 Mark and Julie spent on renovations between 2019 and 2023, invested at a conservative 8% annual return across the 4 years, rather than deployed into the renovation projects, would have grown to approximately $128,000. The renovation produced $88,000 in property appreciation, but only $28,000 of that appreciation is attributable to the renovations themselves, rather than to the Denver market's general appreciation during the same period. The $66,000 in renovation-driven value that does not appear as property appreciation, compared to the $34,000 in foregone investment growth during the same period, produces an opportunity cost comparison in which the renovation capital delivered a net return of negative $40,000 relative to the alternative of not renovating and investing the same capital instead. This calculation is never shown to homeowners at the point of renovation decision. If it were, it would change the decision for a meaningful percentage of the people who proceed. Now meet two neighbors, same street, same year of purchase, same purchase price, same household income. Call them Kevin and Brian. Kevin renovates. Over 8 years of homeownership, he undertakes a kitchen remodel, a primary bathroom renovation, a deck addition, and a finished basement. Total renovation expenditure, $118,000, partially financed through a HELOC at 9.2% average rate over the financing period. His home, purchased at $380,000, sells in year 9 for $587,000. He has $207,000 in gross appreciation. After paying down the HELOC and accounting for the renovation costs not recovered at sale, his net financial gain from the renovation investments is approximately $44,000 on $118,000 in renovation capital, a 37% total return over 8 years, or approximately 4% annualized, before accounting for the HELOC interest paid. Brian does not renovate. His identical house on the same street, with the original kitchen and the original bathrooms and the unfinished basement, sells in year 9 for $541,000, $46,000 less than Kevin's renovated property, reflecting the market's partial but incomplete valuation of Kevin's improvements. Brian's $118,000 in capital that Kevin deployed into renovations instead went into a taxable brokerage account in year 1, invested in a low-cost total market index fund at 8% average annual return. After 8 years, that $118,000 has grown to approximately $218,000. Brian's net financial position at sale, the $161,000 in home appreciation, plus the $218,000 in brokerage account, minus nothing, because he has no HELOC balance and no renovation costs that failed to recoup, is $379,000 in total wealth generated by the same property over the same period. Kevin's net financial position, the $207,000 in home appreciation, minus the unreturned renovation costs, minus the HELOC interest paid, is approximately $261,000 in total wealth generated by the same property over the same period. Brian has $118,000 more in total wealth. His kitchen is original. His bathrooms are dated. His basement is unfinished. His retirement account is $118,000 larger than Kevin's. Neither of them was extravagant. Kevin loved his renovations. Brian does not regret not renovating. They made different decisions with the same capital and arrived at meaningfully different financial outcomes. And the financial difference between them is not the house, which Kevin sold for more. It is the renovation, which Kevin funded, which Kevin loved, and which cost Kevin $118,000 more than it returned. The renovation decision is complicated in ways that the pure financial analysis does not fully capture, and it is worth naming those complications honestly, rather than dismissing them. Because the people who renovate are not making irrational decisions. They are making decisions that are financially suboptimal and experientially valuable simultaneously. A combination that appears throughout financial decision-making and that deserves honest evaluation rather than false framing. The experiential value of a renovated home is real. Cooking in a kitchen that functions beautifully, showering in a bathroom that does not feel dated, having a finished basement that your children use. These are genuine quality-of-life improvements that produce real daily satisfaction that Brian's original kitchen does not produce. The question is not whether the experience is worth having. The question is whether $118,000 is the right price for it. Whether the experiential value over the years of residence justifies the financial cost after accounting for what the capital could have become in its alternative deployment. This is a calculation each household can make honestly and arrive at different defensible answers depending on how highly they value the experience, how long they expect to remain in the home, and what their overall financial position makes the capital cost relative to other financial priorities. The renovation trap is not that renovation is always wrong. It is that renovation is almost always framed as an investment, when it should be framed as consumption. And the switch in framing changes the decision criteria in ways that consistently produce better financial outcomes. The specific renovation projects that come closest to justifying the investment framing, the ones with the highest return rates in the cost versus value data, are systematically different in character from the projects that homeowners most frequently undertake. The projects with the highest return rates are those that address functional deficiencies visible to buyers at the point of sale. Garage door replacements return 193.9% at sale. Manufactured stone veneer returns 153.2%. Minor kitchen remodels, cabinet refacing, new fixtures, updated appliances, not a full gut renovation, return 85.7%. These are maintenance-adjacent improvements that make a property competitive in the market rather than luxury upgrades that express the homeowner's taste. The projects with the lowest return rates are the ones most emotionally satisfying to undertake. The full primary suite addition, the major kitchen gut renovation, the elaborate outdoor living space. The market does not value the 6-burner range at the price paid. The market does not value the freestanding tub at the price paid. The market values functional adequacy, not bespoke experience. And bespoke experience is what the renovation industry is most effective at selling. Do you think most homeowners who undertake a major kitchen or bathroom renovation have ever seen the cost versus value recoupment data before committing to the project? Or do you think most proceed on a combination of the investment narrative and the genuine desire for the experience, with the financial return assumption serving as the justification that makes the desire feel responsible? Because I think the honest answer determines what kind of homeowner you are, and whether the next contractor estimate you receive will be evaluated as a financial decision or as a lifestyle aspiration, wearing a financial argument like a costume. The renovation decision framework that produces consistently better financial outcomes than the default process, which is wanting something, getting an estimate, being surprised by the estimate, proceeding anyway, being more surprised by the final cost, and finishing the project feeling a combination of pride and unease, has 4 elements. The first element is the hold period test. The financial case for a renovation improves with the length of time the homeowner remains in the home, because the experiential value of the improved space accrues over the holding period, while the financial cost is fixed at the point of expenditure. A $52,000 kitchen remodel that you enjoy for 15 years before selling is a different consumption expenditure than the same remodel undertaken 2 years before selling. The cost is identical, the experiential return is 7-fold greater, and the decision to proceed is correspondingly more defensible. Apply the hold period test before any significant renovation. If you do not expect to remain in the home long enough for the experiential return to justify the cost independent of the financial return, the renovation math does not work at any cost level. If you expect to remain long enough that the experience itself justifies the cost, regardless of what it returns at sale, you are making an honest consumption decision rather than a rationalized financial one, which is a better foundation for any expenditure. The second element is the budget then design sequencing, the reversal of the standard process in which homeowners describe what they want to a designer or contractor and receive an estimate that anchors the decision to the cost of the desired outcome. The budget then design sequence begins with the question of how much capital you are willing to deploy into this renovation as a consumption expenditure, knowing that approximately 40 to 50 cents of every dollar will not return at sale, and that the remainder is the honest cost of the experience you are purchasing. Set that number first, before speaking to any contractor, before looking at any tile samples, before visiting any showroom. Then engage designers and contractors with that budget as a constraint that precedes the design, rather than a ceiling that the design reveals as insufficient. Projects designed within a predetermined budget consistently deliver higher satisfaction than projects that begin with unconstrained design and arrive at a budget through estimate shock. Because the homeowner who designed within a $25,000 kitchen budget experiences that kitchen as the full expression of a deliberate choice, while the homeowner who wanted a $50,000 kitchen and settled for $35,000 after estimate shock experiences it as the compromised version of something better. The third element is the 30% contingency rule, the single most practically useful piece of renovation financial management, which is to take whatever estimate you receive for any renovation project and multiply it by 1.3 before evaluating whether you can afford to proceed. The 45% of projects that exceed their estimate by more than 20% are not exceptions to a system that mostly works correctly. They are the predictable output of an estimate process that prices the project the contractor believes you want to hear about, rather than the project the scope will produce. The homeowner who proceeds on a $33,000 estimate without a contingency reserve will be asked to fund the $19,000 overrun from savings, credit, or HELOC at the exact moment when the project is in progress, and the leverage to decline the additional cost has essentially disappeared. The homeowner who budgets $43,000 for the same project, the original estimate times 1.3, either completes the project within budget and has $10,000 remaining, or absorbs the overrun without financial crisis. The 30% contingency does not prevent overruns. It prevents overruns from becoming financial emergencies. The fourth element is the financial position sequencing, the specific prioritization of renovation relative to other competing uses of the same capital that ensures renovations happen from financial strength rather than from leveraged aspiration. The correct sequencing is emergency fund at full target first, high interest debt eliminated second, retirement savings rate at the required level third, renovation from remaining free capital or conservatively structured HELOC fourth. The homeowner who renovates from a HELOC while carrying credit card debt is paying 9% to borrow renovation capital while paying 22% on consumer debt simultaneously, the mathematical equivalent of filling a leaking container. The homeowner who renovates from accumulated free capital after funding the emergency fund and retirement accounts is spending money they actually have on an experience they have actually decided they want, without the compounding carrying cost that transforms a consumption expenditure into a consumption expenditure plus a debt service expense. Mark and Julie are going to have a conversation next month about the backyard. There's a contractor whose card is on the refrigerator. There's a design they have been discussing in the loose way that renovation conversations always begin. Not a plan exactly, just a direction, a patio and maybe a pergola. And there was that fire pit they saw at their friend's house that everyone stood around for 3 hours after dinner, and it was exactly the kind of evening they want more of in their life. The estimate will arrive. It will be more than they expected. There will be a revised scope. There will be a version they can make work. Mark will check the HELOC balance. Julie will pull up Zillow to see what the house is worth. They will look at each other across the kitchen with its quartz countertops and its 6-burner range and its backsplash they both love. And they will each, privately, perform a version of the calculation that this video has now given them the framework to run honestly. The backyard will be beautiful if they build it. It will cost more than the estimate. It will return less than it costs. It will produce evenings around a fire with people they love that cannot be valued on a spreadsheet and should not be. But that should be purchased honestly, as the consumption they are, at a price that emerges from the capital they have, rather than the leverage available to them, with the eyes open that the investment framing has always kept.